This is Brother Peter Diamond, VaticanCatholic.com, continuing with the second part of the discussion, the teaching of the popes and the Vatican II anti-popes on the religion of the Muslims, Islam. In the last part, we looked at what the Catholic Church and the true popes actually teach. We looked at the teaching of Pope Calixtus III, 1455, that Islam is a sect of the devil, a diabolical sect. We looked at Pope Eugene IV, who said that Islam is an abomination, the abominable sect of Muhammad. We looked at Pope Pius II, who called the Muslims godless. He referred to their religious practices as Mahometan abominations. He referred to Muhammad as a false prophet. One quote I didn't fit into the last part. On October 13, 1487, Pius II published a bull inviting people to a congress, and he referred to the Muslims as the adherents of, quote, the false prophet Muhammad, the bloodthirsty hosts of the venomous dragon. So he refers to Islam collectively as a venomous dragon. We covered in the last part Clement V and the teaching of the Council of Vienne, which declared that it's a scandal that the name of the infidel Muhammad is read out and proclaimed and extolled in Catholic lands, and that this must not be tolerated, and that his name is sacrilegious. We also covered Pope Calixtus III, who instituted the Missa contra Paganos, in which he described the Muslims as pagans. Therefore, they don't worship God. They are outside of the true faith. They are outside of the worship of the true God. They are classified among the pagans. We also looked at Pope Leo X, Fifth Lateran Council, who again calls them infidels, the Muslims. We looked at Pope Benedict XIV, who said that it's a mortal sin and will exclude a person from heaven if someone were to give a Mohammedan name to a child in baptism. There are other quotes relevant to what the Catholic Church thinks of Islam and the Muslims. Again, it desires the conversion of all the Muslims. It wants them to be converted and come into the one true church and be eternally happy. However, it tells the truth about their false religion, and that is true charity. One could also have quoted Pope Pius XI, who refers to the darkness of the religion of the Muslims, etc. But now I want to move to what the post-Vatican II anti-popes teach about Islam. It is truly astounding. It alone would prove what our material covers concerning Vatican II being a false robber council and the false church which emanated from it being a counterfeit sect of the devil. It alone would prove that John the 23rd through Benedict XVI are not true popes but anti-popes. There are so many quotes that are heretical from the Vatican II anti-popes on Muslims and the religion of Islam. I do not have time to go through them all. They are found in our material. They come from their books and their speeches and their writings. I went through Benedict XVI's books, and Brother Michael went through the speeches of the anti-popes, and so I will begin. For instance, Benedict XVI, in his address December 22, 2006, expresses publicly, quote, my respect for the Islamic religion, a respect, moreover, which the Second Vatican Council, Declaration Nostra Aetate No. 3, pointed out, end quote. And so he says that he respects not only the Muslims, which is bad enough, but the religion itself. And he says that this respect was taught by Vatican II. That is heresy. To respect a false religion is heresy. This is complete apostasy, in fact, because he's not only respecting a false religion, but one which the Church teaches is a diabolical sect, as we covered earlier. So his statement is equivalent to declaring that he has respect for the satanic religion, and that this respect for the satanic religion was taught in Vatican II. We also covered how Pope Eugene IV declared that Islam is an abomination, which means that it's something God abhors. So the Church abhors this religion. It doesn't respect it. This is Antichrist. In his Catechesis, August 24, 2005, Benedict XVI speaks of Jews and Christians as well as esteem for the other great religious traditions. Islam occupies a special place among them, end quote. So he esteems, as we see here, various false religions, that is apostasy, and he identifies Islam. So he esteems Islam. That means he looks with favor upon a diabolical sect and an abomination. This is apostasy. This is Antichrist. And of course, we all know that in 2006 in Turkey, he went into a mosque and prayed toward Mecca like the Muslims in an Islamic prayer gesture. That is total apostasy once again. In his September 2006 speech apologizing for his comments on Islam, Benedict XVI said, quote, "I hope that the reader of my text can see immediately that this sentence does not express my personal view of the Koran, for which I have the respect due to the holy book of a great religion." End quote. So he says that some comments he made which were perceived as negative toward the Muslims and Islam were not expressing his personal view of their religion or of their book, the Koran, and he says, for which he has the respect due to the holy book of a great religion. So he respects the Koran, which blasphemes the Trinity. He calls it the holy book of a great religion, when in fact it is the evil book of a diabolical religion. This is apostasy. This is Antichrist. In his book, Salt of the Earth, page 244, he speaks of a noble Islam. In his book, Truth and Tolerance, 2004, page 204, he says, "Yet even Islam, with all the greatness it represents, is always in danger of losing balance." So he says an abomination and a diabolical sect represents greatness. Like the anti-popes who came before him, he constantly showers praises upon the religious leaders of the Muslims, calls them believers over and over and over again, when they are just the opposite. They are infidels, unbelievers. For example, addressed to representatives of Islam, August 20th, 2005, quote, "The believer and all of us as Christians and Muslims are believers," end quote. This is apostasy. Like the anti-popes who came before him, he sends them greetings when they celebrate their religious feasts, and he even esteems the diabolical Islamic civilizations. General Audience, December 6th, 2006, quote, "I thus had the favorable opportunity to renew my sentiments of esteem for the Muslims and for the Islamic civilizations," end quote. This is apostasy. This is Antichrist. Moving on to John Paul II, who constantly taught the heresy that Muslims and Catholics worship the same God. He said it so many times, it's almost unbelievable. He kissed the Koran on May 14th, 1999, which is an act of apostasy. Like Benedict XVI, he went into a mosque. In his message to the Grand Sheikh Mohammed, February 24th, 2000, he, quote, "thanked those who are developing Islamic culture," end quote. So he thinks it's a good thing that a diabolical culture is developing. During his visit to Germany, November 17th, 1980, he encouraged the Muslims to, quote, "live your faith also in a foreign land," end quote. So he encourages them to practice abominations and live their faith, their false diabolical faith. On March 21st, 2000, he asked St. John the Baptist to protect Islam and all the people of Jordan, end quote. And so he calls heaven to protect this diabolical sect and abomination. This is truly a total inversion and overturning of the Christian religion. This is apostasy. This is Antichrist in the temple of God. He constantly expressed respect for their religious leaders, their false religion. There are just countless quotes. On April 12, 2000, he met with the king of Morocco, a descendant of the false prophet Muhammad. John Paul II asked him, quote, "You are a descendant of the prophet, aren't you?" end quote. So he calls the false prophet the prophet. There are many other statements from Benedict XVI and John Paul II in our material, but moving on to Paul VI. He committed one of the worst heresies of all the anti-popes on Islam. In his speech September 9th, 1972, he spoke of, quote, "the riches of the Islamic faith, a faith that binds us to the one God," end quote. So he says that a false religion which rejects the Trinity, which the church teaches is a diabolical sect and an abomination, binds people to the one God. This is complete and total Antichrist apostasy. Anyone who would deny it is of the devil. In his August 3rd, 1969 Angelus address, Paul VI spoke of, quote, 22 martyrs were recognized. There were also Anglicans and some Mohammedans, end quote. So he speaks of Muslim martyrs. In his August 1969 address, he says, quote, our high respect for the faith you profess. We gladly recall also those confessors of the Muslim faith, end quote. So he has high respect for a diabolical religion. In his address to Muslim ambassador, June 4th, 1976, he speaks of Moroccan Muslims are brothers in faith in the one God. You will always find esteem and understanding here, end quote. He says the Muslims are brothers in the faith, and he of course taught the heresy that Muslims worship the same God as Catholics. He has high respect for the diabolical religion, and he says it binds people to God.